good point of, because I talked to some guys for about half an hour, literally on grading, because it's such a big thing. But I'll be keen to get your perspective.
Yes. Hey everyone, welcome back. I am your, I guess, host, Chesh. It's weird because I don't have the wingman. Sam, because of life, work balance, is stepping away from mail time and I guess the visual podcast or whatever. People call this a podcast. It's not. It's a visual podcast, if anything, because I don't just do audio only and then upload it to the internet, but I probably should, I've been told, because people seem to enjoy it. So it's literally just myself tonight. No one else with me at all. No one else. I guess I found this cool person via Instagram, and then I kind of met them in person and I invited them on and they're here, but do they really count? I mean, if you only see my picture, is it just me? But I'm here with Alexacollects. Alexa, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you, Chesh. Thank you for inviting me. It's really, really cool to get into.
That just felt like the best, weirdest introduction of a guest I think I've done yet.
That sounded good, Chesh. That was good.
I think I've absolutely isolated how bizarre I can be, which is great. Setting expectations. I'm just actually going to have some orange juice, don't mind me. Melbourne's been quite cold, as you will attest.
I know, have to pull out the electric blanket again.
I've been seriously considering
the past
week. Yeah. My big fighter is generally garlic and orange juice, just to try and like ward off the demon that is the flu. Now, for people who don't know Alexacollects on Instagram, you absolutely should go and follow her, because, and I'm gonna say it, your posts, I have not seen a single post on Instagram yet that has been trash. And I say that with the highest level of praise, because I follow some accounts and I mean, even my account, sometimes I'll just post like random shit, like, you know, a pair of Jordans, you know, that I get in the mail, and I'm like,
cool though.
They're cool.
I appreciate that though.
Yeah. But generally speaking, like, your posts are always about like why you're collecting, who you're collecting, like some cool fact about a card, or, you know, an experience that you've had, or like this card is cool because of like this unique thing. And it's just like, it's one of those things you don't expect. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're 21, right?
Yes, I'm 21.
So it's not something that you would usually expect out of somebody who's so young in this hobby.
Yeah.
And that's not a detriment to you at all. It's just like a lot of the older people are the ones that are like card connoisseurs, and it's one of the points that I like making is that that's not technically correct. It's just that we don't see a lot of younger people talking about those aspects of this particular hobby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm flattered that you talk so highly of my cards, because this was literally Instagram. It wasn't even a real project. It was never my intention to become an Instagram, you know, to blow up on Instagram or anything like that. This was literally no. I was hesitant to use the word influencer because I'm never going to be an influencer. Oh no! Can't talk about that, Chesh. That ruffled some feathers, and that resulted in an unfollow by said person. So, no, this was actually a really small project that I began at the beginning of our most recent lockdown here in Melbourne. So we had a 5-day lockdown, probably a month and a half ago, I want to say, and I genuinely thought, because it was in the middle of my university summer holidays, and I thought, well, I've literally got all my collection right here. I'm stuck at home for 5 days. You know what? Let's just start an Instagram account just of cards. Because I mean, I do have a personal Instagram, but people who follow me on like my personal Instagram know that I just don't post anything, and I just sort of just message. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I said, let's just take out the PC and let's just start this Instagram channel or account and just say, you know, I really. The intention behind it was to show some of the really cool cards that I have. But more than that, it's just the story behind how I got each card. Because I can tell you a little bit of something about every card that I've ever owned, because I know how I got it, or there might be, you know, unique circumstances why I got that particular card. And at the end of the day, that's really my main goal of my collection in general is to have cards that people may rarely see or might not have. And that's what I'm sort of, I pride myself on doing.
Because that actually, that is exactly it, right? So like, you did a post very much recently about a very big card that you finally got a deal on. Tell us about it. Because this card is worth like more than my entire collection.
Dare I ask which one it is?
It was I believe it was a Kobe auto, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. It's sitting right next to me. I should put it in a safe deposit box. But I got this probably about 2 weeks ago, I think, or something like that. And I had to give up some of my other big cards that I've posted on my Instagram to get this. And for me, I've always, like, Kobe has always been my biggest NBA idol. Like, even when I was younger, when I started to get into the NBA and NBA card collecting, Kobe was the Panini ambassador, in the beginning of like 2010, just after the Panini acquired the NBA license. And Kobe was always the big, ambassador of the company. And I've always wanted a Kobe auto, but it's always been so far out of my budget, and and especially now since he unfortunately passed away, and that his upcoming Hall of Fame induction in May, his autos have just gone through the roof, and
they're about to get worse because the GOAT, the GOAT introducing the GOAT in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I saw that this morning, and that's just going to be amazing. And so it's taken me a long time to build my collection to what it is today, and it was only recently that I saw this card, and I said to myself, I've never ever seen this variant. I mean, I've seen a lot of Kobe autographs before, but I've never ever seen a Prism Choice Kobe auto from 2018 Prism, Luka rookie year.
They don't come up. They literally just don't come up. And it's that thing of like, and you've got 3 different types of collectors, right? So you've got the flipper collector who just like buys something that they think is going to be hot and flips it for the cash. You have the I'll keep it for a while because it's cool, and once I get sick of it, I'll flip. And then you'll have the I just got this, holy shit, I'm gonna lock this away forever and no one's ever gonna see it, until something bigger comes along. And this card is one of those. It's those, like, you don't see them in the marketplace. You don't see them being sold by, like, Goldfin. You don't see them being sold by private sellers. They come up once in a blue moon. They're like, a legendary card that you've heard of, that you know exists because it's on a checklist somewhere.
Yes.
But you actually fucking never see it.
I know. And this is actually just as it got a BGS 8, which is harsh, but again, it's literally because there's a print line across the face. But take that away and take what potentially may be the unsightly image of the little paper Beckett label that they get when it gets below an 8.5. Take that away. This is a Pop 5 auto or Pop 5 card on BGS. There are only 4 cards. It is the lowest in the Pop, but there are only 5 in the Pop. And if you look at PSA, there's 1 in the Pop, and it got a 9. So they just don't exist. And Prism Choice from 2018 doesn't exist anymore. No. So you're not going to see the Pop rise, and you're certainly not going to see Kobe autos like that pop out.
Exactly.
So that was that, and that's, again, it'll take me, I doubt if I'll ever try and trade this or sell this. It'll be incredibly hard. I don't see myself thinking there's a bigger card that I really want than this. So it's one of these things, one of these cards that, as a collector, you've been almost been searching for your entire collecting career, might I say. But it's only that once you've found it, you think you're almost at ease thinking, I found my best card in my collection. I think we all as collectors try and think, can we get a better card? And sure, there are better cards in this Kobe. I mean, there are cards that are thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. that's certainly not something that's, achievable, that I can actually achieve myself. And the fact that I managed to get my hands, I mean, again, 10-year-old me who first started collecting NBA cards wouldn't believe that I have a Kobe autograph that's a Pop 5. And just considering that, how there are so many, for me, so many like rookie-based cards that are really high pop, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but with a high pop, you sort of say, well, everyone else has that. The market is saturated in these cards. The market is not saturated in this Kobe autograph, and that's something I can be sure of, and know that this is something that 6 other people have slabbed. So that's something I'm proud of.
Yeah, and that's exactly like. So I think everyone knows by now. Like my big jam from the old days is Larry Johnson. That Error refractor that I've got in an 8, 9. I don't know. It's like Pop 35, but yeah. If I let that go, I'm never going to get another one, especially not one that's graded. Given how old it is, given how condition sensitive they are, given how rare they are, and like again, I got mine at like I think $25 US. I got it at a steal because somebody was auctioning it, and for whatever reason, like people just stopped bidding, and I was like, "Oh, it's mine!" It's $140, US card. But it's that similar vein of like, there's a particular card that you'll get in your collection, and you just look at it, and you just want to go to sleep with it at night. You want to put it under your pillow and make sure that it's there in the morning.
It has been on my bedside table a few times, not to be creepy, but it's what it is. That's the only way to describe it. It's something you would, not being creepy, would literally sleep with, because it's something that
it's a
you've
treasured
worked,
possession.
Absolutely.
And you worked your ass off to get it. Like I can only imagine what you used in that particular deal, and I'm going to assume that one of them was like a Luka Doncic, probably a graded silver. I could imagine like
something similar. It was a Luka Doncic something. Yeah, I will say.
Something tasty.
A few of those Instagram cards I did have to use, but at the end of the day, when I was weighing up what I wanted to trade or for this Kobe, I said to myself, I love this card that I already have, but at the end of the day, I want this Kobe more, and if that means that I have to make, if anything, a small sacrifice. Like, I think that's a general sort of thing that I've learned recently in the hobby, is that you can't necessarily have an emotional attachment with every single card that you own, because that's how you won't necessarily grow in the hobby if you just hold on to everything just because you're emotionally attached. But at the same sense, you have to have a certain level of sacrifice, because that's how you get to these bigger chase cards, and that you, at the end of the day, be more satisfied with what you've got in your collection. So, and that's what I had to do. I mean, there are some cards that there were a couple of cards that I loved, and I really, I would have fought tooth and nail to keep. But you've just got to really think, this is what I can get. If I just sacrifice this one, I can, I can get this really big one that long term is going to hold value and is just a stunningly beautiful card.
So, for those playing at home who might not know, Alex, what are you doing at uni again?
I'm in my first year of a Master of Speech Pathology. And training to be a speech pathologist.
And during your, I guess, spare time, you also work for Cherry, is that right?
I do. I'm your... Sorry, keep going.
I was going to say, how did that shape, I guess, your current level of collecting? Because it's a question that I've noticed that no one really asks people, is like, with your particular working situation, that's obviously helped to level up your understanding of the hobby, your understanding of like, doing deals. I mean, look at Grayson, like he's, obviously knows what the fuck he's doing. How has that seeped into your brain and crafted how you've been making these deals and how you've been wheeling and dealing?
If anything, I've become, rather than being, as I sort of alluded to earlier, is that rather than necessarily solely being an emotional collector, I've turned into partially a smarter collector in the sense that I think long-term value-wise with cards. And that's what I've learned from Cherry, is that the way that Grayson and Dale and everyone who works there, the way they work is that the internal workings of Cherry are so intricate, and they're so clever with how they've managed to, or how Grayson's managed to build this really amazing company, and how he manages to really, the inventory that they've got and sort of general, what the sort of vibes they get, like what sort of is good in the market at the moment, and just getting a really close insight into minds of such knowledgeable people about the current state of the hobby and the market. And, you know, it's given me just invaluable advice and knowledge about the hobby, and just seeing, you know, that I can always, that again, they're such an amazing group of individuals that I can always rely on for advice in the hobby. Like if I ever have any doubts, I know that I can always, you know, approach them or ask them. And if any, they're just incredible. And just seeing like the volume of product that we buy, and just seeing what is popular with collectors at the moment, and what generally is a good investment going forwards, is stuff that I've learnt from everyone at Cherry. And I think it's really helped me in my own collecting, and it's really helped me to sort of, you know, analyze, I guess, the cards that I'm thinking of getting into. Will this be a good buy or a good investment or whatever? And yeah, it's just made me a more knowledgeable collector, and you know, I'm really, really grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Understand that, absolutely. Let me just. So we got D Carter in chat. We have Card Experience. Hey Phil. We got Steve. Hey everyone. Alright, so what we might do, talking about good deals and bad deals and questionable things, I think we'll move over to our other camera and we'll have a look at what trash Chesh has been into. So I have been a little bit... I'm
excited for this.
This is going to blow your mind. I've been a little bit bored recently with just NBA breaks, so as everyone knows from last mail time, I went in a couple of the Cherry breaks with Topps Inception and got a cool RPA. That was really cool with, you know, the whole baseball thing. Decided to get into a little bit of NFL for no good reason. This was weird.
NFL is hot at the moment.
Yeah.
NFL's really good. And I see Optic, and Optic is an amazing product.
Yes, I'll always absolutely buy into Optic. It's one of the things that I always tell people is like, if you're going to try a new product for the first time, Prism and Optic and Select are your things to try. Like value-wise.
Oh, sure.
So this would have been from Steve at Trading Card Community Group Breaks. What's this? Josiah Deguara? I don't know. But I got his base card too. There's just a whole heap of base in there that nobody cares about. James Wiseman, Hoops rookie. Would have been from another one of those breaks. Is there anything substantial in here? I don't think there is. Oh, God.
Any coloured variation of a rookie from Optic is a win in my eyes.
Well, yes. And there'll be another one coming out in a second that I was initially thinking of just selling. But I probably should grade it and flip it. Try and get it HGA'd. So what do we got in here? Just, oh yeah, some rookies. Oh, okay. James Wiseman.
That's Wiseman, that's good.
Yep. Robert Woodward. Ooh. Jameis Ramsey.
I think they did a great job with Revo this year, Panini.
Revo is always good. Just people hate it because it's Prism Light / Select Light, but I mean, you get two camps. You get your camp that are like me, who are just like, I really like it, and then you get your camp that are like, oh, it never grades well, blah blah blah. It's like, well, that's not necessarily true. I'm going to assume this is more from Trading Card Community. Yeah. So I was in his Hoops break where he had the snow blasters. So that's pretty cool. That's probably where the other James Wiseman came from. It's one of the snow base.
Is that from like a holiday hoops or something like that?
Yeah,
or is that just
the Christmas hoops.
That's cool.
I absolutely love Chinese New Year, and I think I always will.
Yeah.
More parallels. Don't think what I'm looking for is in here. Another De'Aaron Fox. Oh yeah, this is just all basey base.
That's cool.
Yeah, more stuff I'm just gonna
That's cool.
chuck by the wayside, to be honest.
Do you always choose the Warriors, Chesh, or did you just win them?
I just random. Yeah, just random teamed it.
Oh, cool.
At the start of the year, I was going to chase Wiseman, but Wiseman went through the roof, so I was like, I think I'll just pass. It's pretty much what it came down to. On my list was Wiseman, Maxi, and Halliburton. Were my three big picks.
Yeah.
I looked at LaMelo.
I was all in on LaMelo before the injury.
Yeah. Well, I looked at LaMelo originally, and I was like, yeah, he's good. But like, how good can he make Hornets?
Yeah.
Because Hornets have been laughing joke for like so fucking long that none of us cared about Hornets. You get Hornets in a break, you're like, ugh, Hornets, ugh. And then like LaMelo comes in and shapes the entire team, and Jordan's just like, there's a reason why I grabbed him first pick. And it's like, oh, you actually do still know what you're doing. This is a cherry. Speaking of LaMelo, this is a cherry break. Hang on. Let's just get all of this shit to the top first. There we go.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
The Donruss design was great this year. I think just the designs this year have just stepped up a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Props to Panini.
It's funny because last year it was just considered such a throwaway thing because it was like, it's not optic, you know, it's kind of just one level above hoops. But this year it just like, I think it just outshines hoops really.
I think it was really underrated for a long time last year, and only when people realised like the net marvels are insane, going for an insane price. But see, I love those. I think they call them not the flood. I can't remember. No, they're cool.
Obviously, I hit Hornets. So you're always wishing that you're going to get like a blue mirror of your boy Ball, but you know, it's few and far between. Revolution. That was just from the Prism break. So here's what's going to happen. So I went in, I think it was maybe a Crown Royal break. And I was like, this is going to be great. And it had, you could win a spot in the Beefster break, the Cherry Beefster break.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, okay, cool. So, like, if I fail out of this one, then I'm still in with a chance to, like, get a $250 break spot, basically. You know, for, I think it was like $50 or whatever it was. And I hit the break spot, and I hit nothing in the break. And I was like, well, you know, one half the other. Maybe I'll hit, like, Hornets in this Beefster break. And, of course, I hit Hornets, didn't I? So, Gold Team
that's cool.
Ball, Hollow Arriving Now Ball.
That's cool. 2
base Hoops Ball to go with like my 20 other balls. I got the Rookies Ball, and of course the Red Rookie Donruss Ball. So hitting 6 rookies, like ball rookies, basically out of what technically a $50 break. That led into a $250 break.
That's a bargain.
Yeah,
that's really good.
That's really good. So, yeah. Anytime now I see like a break with benefits, is probably the best way to say it. Although that sounds wrong. Every time I see a break with benefits now, I'm like, I'm all in. Like, give me spots.
No, it is. I mean, that's what we really try to do. Is we try to really give you the opportunity to get into those bigger breaks. And if it's by, buying a $50 spot, then, we want everyone to get involved. And, you got the Hornets. Well, now you can say that the Hornets still, one of our top teams that, and even although LaMelo's out, still pulling LaMelo stuff and, holding it is still something that's worthwhile,
Exactly. More stuff from that break. Like, that break was really good to me. Just cool. Stuff that I can sit on that's not worth anything yet, which is nice.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, especially with PSA down at the moment, if anything, now's the time where not only am I, trying to buy up raw cards that I see myself grading in the future, but now it's the time for people to sort of sit on things or hold things where players have maybe gone down or are injured, and if anything, it's a good time for that. And we'll see how everything goes.
So this next one was Pistons in the absolute break, the cherry break that I went in, which is funny, mostly because I think everyone knows by now how hard I'm chasing Killian Hayes, which will be a theme for tonight. So we've got Blake Griffin, Karl Anthony Towns, Jaden McDaniels in the red, and I did absolutely hit a numbered, an eBay 1/1, mind you. Number 7 of 99.
You can't complain about that.
You cannot complain about that at all. That goes straight into the collection, and it just looks real cool. So that was nice to hit. What's next? This was another break. Who was this from? Oh, this one was also Trading Card Community. I know because of the card that I just saw flash on the back. It is now stuck to the team bag. Thank you, team bag. So this was part of the, I think, the same hoops break. Yes. What you'll notice is the holiday hoops have gold down the bottom instead of silver.
Oh, right.
Which is awesome when you hit like a Halliburton. Who's that? Buddy Eld. And here was my cool hits.
Oh, that's cool.
So, I mean, James Morgan might be fine, but Jordan Love.
Oh, that's brilliant.
In the hyper and the silver out of the same blaster.
That's it. Have they missed me, or did they miss the rookie logo on that?
They missed the rookie logo.
Oh.
Yep.
Anyway, that's good. Jordan Love, my sort of top NFL rookies from the season were Herbert, Burrow, and then it would be Jordan Love, I'd say, next. So I'd look into grading. I mean, depending on what you're looking at grading, that would be a good ones to get graded.
Well, I think
when PSA open.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of just sending them to HGA, to be honest. I'd just let them have at it, see what I can get. Next up was a trade. I traded a Revolution Curry for this. Another Carson Edwards.
A Revolution base, or
yeah, Revolution base.
Geez, that's cool.
He was real keen on the Curry, and I was real keen on the good old Carson.
Your Carson's your boy.
Yeah. Speaking of, I finally have my RPA certified, which is nice. And I can't help it. I keep buying one-on-ones. Yeah.
Because one-on-one, one of your favorites, yeah.
It is.
One-on-one was mine.
So it wasn't to begin with because of, well, let's face it, it's expensive product. You can't exactly just buy a box and open it yourself. And I was like, I'm probably never going to hit Carson, so maybe I can pick him up on the secondary market. And as soon as I picked up, so Cherry gave me, I should say, Dale gave me one, and Blake gave me one. Like, there was an auto and an RPA that they gave me. And then I started snapping them up on eBay at like $20 to $30 US a piece. And I just couldn't stop. Like, once I started, I was like, oh no, this is a thing. I've got the money for it. I'm just going to keep buying them. So
that's where, I think that's where we get by in this hobby, is that we get by, we're inspired by the good people that are in this hobby, or that, that's how I really began my getting into NBA, is that by the generosity of the guys at Cherry before I started working there, and just, Dale and Blake and Josh and everyone there was really great, you know, and that's just the way that, you know, the really awesome aspect of this hobby is that there are so many kind people, you know.
I'm pretty sure I picked up this fractal on Facebook for about $20. Another Killian
That's
Hayes. So saw it and I had to grab it. Oh, interesting. That must be from the cherry break. Derek Rose, whatever. And now we get into the silliness. And now everyone gets to judge me on my poor life choices. None of these are in sleeves. I'm gonna have to sleeve them all up later. And then chuck them in a box. So I did a deal with somebody and I traded them some hoop stuff. And they said, I don't really have anything. And I was like, okay, do you have any Killian Hayes? Yes. Do you have any Isaiah Stewart? Yes. And I was like, I'll just take them all. You sure they're just base? Yeah, I'll just take them all. 1, 2, 3, 4 Isaiah Stewarts. 1 Killian Hayes 2020. And then, more Isaiah Stewart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Killian Hayes base. So I'm up to about 60 of them now. I should probably stop. Oh wait, 60 plus. We'll get there in a sec. Arriving now, Killian Hayes.
I mean, my question is, why are you so hooked on Killian Hayes and Isaiah Stewart? Are you a Pistons fan, or are you just...
I don't care for the team. And when it comes down to it, I think that Isaiah Stewart, I don't care about at all. It's just that, like, if you've got them, I'm going to take them just because, you know, there was like a trade discrepancy there, like in value, and I was like, I'll just take them. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But with Killian Hayes, I've been big on Killian Hayes before the draft even happened. Just like watching him play over in Europe and watching his games and the way he moves, is just like, oh, this kid has it. But now he's gone through his second injury already. I'm like, oh boy. And these are all bought before the second injury. But he has a lot of promise, and I'd like to see it pay off. I'm hoping it's not going to be another Carson situation where, don't get me wrong, I love Carson Edwards to death. The boy absolutely is probably one of the nicest people in the NBA. He's just such a nice dude, but like, I want to see him get time. He's proven he can play. He just needs the time. It's the whole thing. So another class of 2020, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 base. Then we got 3 Blaster Purple, because why not? We have a holo of the class of 2020, now playing holo. And this is interesting, we'll get into it in a second. Then I picked up some more Carson Edwards Mosaic. There's just like premium base, premium laser. And this, so this was a deal I did with somebody. I think it was an auction, and the only thing I wanted was the Carson Edwards out of the whole auction, because I don't have a copy of this Carson Edwards. This particular Carson Edwards has eluded me. So I picked it up, but it's okay because I also decided to pick up a rated rookie of Zion for grading, and another Ja Morant Luminance, just because like they're dropping in value. People don't want them. They're shipping them off probably because it's, you know, Chronicles. But I have this feeling that I should grade this and sit on it for a couple of years, because Ja and Zion have both proven how good they can be. Yeah.
I'd agree with that, and I think that's just an iconic. You're never going to get a photo like that, I mean, technically, you could argue that probably the most recent iconic photo was the LeBron imitating the Kobe dunk in Prism, but you're not going to get a photo like that for a long time.
No, they're few and far between. Maybe once a season, if that. So now this was interesting because this is not what I paid for. So don't worry about that. They just use this as padding for some reason. And it's something that Lucky Phil likes to do usually. This didn't come from Lucky Phil, this came from somebody else. But I bought myself another Carson Edwards Prism base for $5. Particularly because the centering on this one looks absolutely immaculate. But it's just Prism base, and I don't know if I'll actually get it graded at some point, but at least the option is there if I want to. that is my pile this week for Poor Life Choices by Chesh.
I wouldn't say that's poor life choices. I'd just say it's just collecting what you love and what you think's maybe you just love getting involved in breaks, or you just love collecting stuff that's weird, or just stuff you're collecting just cause.
Yeah, I mean, and that's,
that's a part of it.
It's that thing. So Maddie from Australian Trading Card Association, technically my boss man, my other work boss man. Anyway, he said that he was surprised when I first started talking about cards, and especially when it came to Carson Edwards, because he was like, I don't know enough people in this hobby at the moment. He's like, and I know a few of them, but I don't know enough that talk about cards quite like you do. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you just don't seem greedy. And I'm like, I want to make as much money as any other motherfucker does. Like, if I can make money, I'll absolutely try and make money. And he's like, yeah, but it's not your primary focus. Like, you're collecting Carson Edwards because you think the dude's a great player and you love the dude. And you're not necessarily looking like, well, when he gets big, I can cash out and I'm going to be rich. And I was like, well, I don't look at cards. I've never really looked at cards like that. And I've previously run, businesses and shops based around cards. But it's just like, it's a weird thing. And it actually sticks in my mind something that G said, which was, most of the time when you own or run a card shop or any kind of business that deals with memorabilia or trading cards, you don't generally have a personal collection as such. Like, you have maybe a couple of cards, and I'm like, I get it, I do, because I see how much I personally spend on cards that I could have been spending on my business. But at the same time, I feel like I need to have my collection because it reminds me of where I'm coming from and where I'm going, if that makes sense. Like, it's part of my journey. Like, my journey isn't just like, I want to like make the best business I can and be, really, quite well off and jet set around. I'd love to do that. I've technically done it before when I was doing Dragon Ball Z stuff and tournaments and whatever else for Magic. And now it's just like, I just kind of want to collect cool cards. I like having the business that I can make money on, but I really just want to collect cool cards.
No, I totally agree with that. And that's literally, I have a few directions of where I want my collection to go or where I'd like to go next. But at the end of the day, it's just, I've always been, well, most of who I am as a collector is collecting really cool cards because I just think they're cool. Like, I don't know if I can actually say this. I recently bought it was on my Instagram. It was a 1975 Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sugar daddy. Yes, that's from like it's from a lolly, a packet of lollies or something. But that's cool. It wasn't, it wasn't really expensive, and it was just a cool card from 1975. Kareem. I love Kareem as a player, but that's just cool stuff. Like, you don't, and that's why I know there's been sort of chat about stickers or
stickers, cards.
Yeah, I look, as a personal thing, I think they are. While they may not physically be like a card, I still think that you can still classify them as cards. Or like the pre-rookie stuff, I think you could classify as being cards.
See, it's a weird thing, right? Like, I classify, like, any of the current stickers, no, because they're not produced with cards. But any of the prior stuff that was packaged with cards, it's like, yeah, literally a sticker, I get it, but treated as a card, yes. Like, when you look at, like, the Jordan rookie and then the Jordan sticker in the same set, and, like, sure, they don't command the same price, but absolutely people treat it, like, as a rarity because it is collectible. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a card or not. Like, it came in the pack with the cards, and that's why it's actually worth money. That's why the Star 86 rookie is, like, worth money, but it's not worth as much as the Fleer card because it's not in the same league.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's all to do with the collectability of something. If you find there is just weird things like stickers, and if anything, you could argue that the stickers, if they're considered cards because of their collectability. You could argue that all the pre-true rookie card stuff, you could argue that the actual what's considered the rookie card may not necessarily be the rookie card because they appear as a sticker in maybe a year or 2 years earlier, and that's sort of what defines, I guess, me, what a first year, card, so to speak, is really. I mean, if you find a pre-rookie card sticker, I mean, I'd consider that. That's why I like, the XRC, because it's just it's a pre-rookie card thing, and they're usually a lot harder to find. And I think I've recently sort of dived into the golf market and the soccer markets. I'm really interested in those, and that finding what's considered the Tiger rookie card, which is his Upper Deck rookie card from 2001, technically isn't, because he does appear in like the Sports Illustrated for Kids, I think it's either 96 or 97, and then it's actually when he first started his golfing career in 90, it was either 90, it was on 94 or 9, it was either, actually no, 96, I think. So technically any sort of weird postcard or stamp or what you would not necessarily consider a trading card, but some form of card, actually is Tiger's real rookie type thing, because Tiger didn't start his career in 2001, if you know what I mean, but that's still considered a rookie card. So it's interesting.
It's weird what people put on the whole well, that's a rookie card because it was their first appearance in cards. It goes back to Aussie, the AFL as well, with the old Scanlan cards with the shitty chewing gum, the Stimroll Scanlan chewing gum. And that was the thing as well, because there's still cards from those old sets where people are like, oh, this is such and such's rookie card because it's his first appearance in cards. And it's well, that's not exactly true either, but sure, you do you. Steve,
tennis cards, for example, I'm a huge believer in the tennis cards as being incredibly underrated, because there's the only true tennis cards that some people who are watching might know is that there's this brand called Net Pro. It's no Panini or anything like that, but it was released in 2003, and it's the only sort of brand that actually made a tennis card. And there are some of the greatest tennis players who are some of the greatest athletes in sport. And it's considered, for example, there's Serena Williams, there's Roger Federer, there's Rafael Nadal, but it's their card. It was produced in 2003, but it's considered their rookie cards because that's their first ever card. But even Serena and Roger, and their careers began at the very end of the late 90s. So whilst it's branded, it goes back to, you brand a rookie card based on their first appearance in cards. But I don't know, it's an interesting point of conversation, but
probably something that we'll do a panel on at some point, probably at Melbourne Oz Comic Con later this year. Steve says loving the older stuff at the moment. Yeah, so Steve Stafford from Trading Card Community Group Breaks just finished a set of, what was it, Steve? You have to remind me. Double Coverage says, what's up, Ella and Alexa? Hey, DC boys. Steve just put together a set of, I think it was 81 tops. And can't remember what the other set was, but it was another old set with the triptych perforated cards. It has the Larry Bird rookie with the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, somebody else rookie card. 81. 80 and 81. There we go.
80, yes. Yeah. 80, 81.
So I've absolutely been going off my nutter watching him put those sets together, because that is just they look so good. Especially the old I think it's the 81. Hang on, let me think. I've got to remember now. It was the Larry Bird from the 81 top set. And it's just like the card just looks amazing. And if anyone hasn't seen that card,
I
look
think
it
is that
up
from?
because
Is that him in a tracksuit? Is that
Yeah.
when he's by himself? Yeah, I've seen that.
with the like
I
just
like
the
that
really cool color on the card, and it's just like
Yeah,
such a great looking
I've seen
card.
that.
And it's weird because like other sets that Topps have made sort of mimic it but look trash. They look cheap. But this particular card, you could imagine them, and I think they actually did redo it at one point as well in a partial chrome. But like that with the foiling where the color is, it'd be just mad as, just absolutely great. And it's a weird thing because as much as I appreciate what Panini is doing for the hobby, there's also a part of me that goes like, I wish that we could get a little bit more diversity in the card designs themselves, from like throwbacks from Clear and from Topps. So it's just such a weird thing because it's like, I don't want Panini to go away. Like people can whinge blue in the face, like get over yourselves, like Panini have a monopoly, but it's been in their best interest to not run the hobby into the ground. So, just back down a little bit. But I just feel like,
I agree. I that's one thing I've always liked about Topps is how it's not necessarily what I would call a reprint, but they've taken an old set. Like, for example, they took the 1957 Topps design and incorporated it into the 2007 Topps. Topps Chrome. And I've got that Kobe. I've got the refractors. I mean, just taking an older set, putting it into a new set and making it all with modern players, so it's not necessarily a reprint, and just made it foil or different, hollow variants. Just makes it cool, and it's something that I appreciate.
Yeah, like Topps just recently actually did a throwback subset in their what was it? Topps 2020 Series 1, I think it was, Series 1 baseball. But they recently did a throwback in that set with like the full-on old red back and everything, and I was just like, this just brings back showing my age, this brings back so many memories of back when I was a kid. And don't get me wrong, like when I say when I was a kid, the first time I opened a pack of baseball was, I would have been 17 because it was before I could buy alcohol. And it was at Chocolate Heaven on the Gold Coast at Coolangatta, because I worked across the road in Underground Groove. And that was approximately 1998, I want to say. Because I was opening pack upon pack of Topps Baseball Stadium Club.
Yeah, that's how I remember the 90s.
Yeah, and that I remember because they had like sealed booster packs of 86 Fleer. And I always looked at them and went, $50 for a pack? I ain't paying that, man. I eventually...
Total different ball game now.
Oh, yeah.
$50 for a pack is cheap.
$50 for a pack was, even back then, was, considered to be pretty expensive when you could generally get the packs for about $30. And I did crack it on a couple of occasions and bought some packs and never pulled a Jordan. Obviously, they're like approximately about 3 to 4 per box, to be honest. They're not that hard to hit. And I wish I had bought more. I do remember that he did have a couple of Jordans in his cabinet. And it's that point of like, it's like looking back at Black Lotus. So when I was about 20, I I think I was still working at that point at Underground Groove. I went down to Broadbeach on the Gold Coast to Trading Faces, which was the premier shop for Australia for basketball at that stage. But they did a whole heap of other stuff. I used to go there for Magic tournaments. And I went to the store, bought a Black Lotus, a revised Black Lotus for $400, I think it was $450. Walked out of the store and had somebody stop me straight away and be all like, I will buy that off you for $550. And I was like, yeah, sure. But that's like back in the days when, and I don't know if you know how much about Magic the Gathering, but
Yeah, I know that the Black Lotus is like it's
Big
almost
money.
like the Jordan
it is the
rookie
Jordan
of the
rookie.
Magic.
Yeah. So back then we also had a set called Alliances and Force of Will. If you know anyone who's into Magic will tell you Force of Will's like such a great card. Now they're worth like $120 to $180. Back then we were ripping them up because we were buying boosters of Alliances for $5. It was an uncommon card and we already had play sets. So it was just like a fun thing of like, oh, I hit another one, rip. And now I look back at it and I'm like, oh, we were so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's just that thing though, like things are going to progress, things are going to change. But even Wizards have looked back and gone, oh, we need to like, with Magic, we're putting out stuff that kind of like has a reminiscent border in a throwback slot, you know? Because a lot of those card companies are now realizing like, oh, actually, throwbacks are great. And I feel like Panini tried that with the Prism thing, and it didn't quite hit the same way because people were just like, but I wasn't around then. Like, I wasn't collecting around like 2012 Prism. It just looks like a janky design. What is this supposed to be? But mostly because it doesn't have a recognizable trait to it to say that it's a throwback. Because, like, you can tell when a Magic card is a throwback because it looks completely different to everything else. You know when Fleer were doing a throwback, like when they did their retro series, because it was a literal throwback to their original stuff, and you could tell it was completely different from the stuff you were opening. Prism doesn't work because Prism looks like Prism. And your throwback looks exactly like all the other cards. It's like, alright, thanks guys.
I still thought that, I mean, this is a personal thing though, I agree with you in the sense that it looked more of just like an insert. I mean, for people who weren't around when, or who weren't collecting when 2012 Prism came out, I don't think they'll necessarily appreciate what, you know, they just treat it as if, oh, it's just a new Prism variant. And then I agree in the sense that it might not be appreciated by sort of newer ultramodern collectors as much. I still think that the simplicity and the way that 2012 Prism allowed the player to pop out of the card, and just the simplicity of the design of that card was great. And I think it'll be remembered as an iconic set, but it might, I agree in the sense that it may not be necessarily picked up on or remembered as much as something like the old Fleer or Tops.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, I wonder if Panini had thought about maybe like grabbing one of their other flagships and kind of inserting it into this, but as a chrome. Like if that maybe would have gone down like slightly differently. Could you like, I guess you can't because of optic, but I mean, if you were going to grab like a Donruss card, like a Donruss rookie card or something like that, and chuck that in there as like, you know, a chromed up version of it, which I guess is too much like optic, but like that kind of like throw it back to maybe another one of the sets that are out, or I don't know. But yeah, I guess it's easy to do if your audience have been following the sport for that long, or have been like following cards for that long, but they didn't really go out of their way to be all like, hey, look at this cool throwback we're doing, like this is a big thing. And it was kind of felt like a lot of the PR for the set was just coming from the stores, but Panini weren't making a big enough like wave about it, so it was just like breakers and stores going like, oh, here's this like, you know, this design is a throwback to 2012, and everyone's like, oh, okay, wasn't around, didn't care. So it just felt like it lost something in translation.
I think especially now that, I mean, just sort of seeing the sort of the type or the general age range in collectors nowadays, I feel as though has moved a lot more towards, I feel like there's a large proportion of ultra modern collectors are younger,
Yeah.
and I find that they've only recently jumped into the hobby, and so I agree in the sense that they may not have, unlike sort of more experienced collectors, they may not have that memory or appreciate previous sets, because all they sort of know is really recent modern stuff like Hoops Hybrid, or just sort of like recent Prism or something like that. So I agree in the sense that like maybe nowadays throwback cards or reprints aren't going to be valued as much. Nevertheless, though, I think as more experienced, I think as well, we have to sort of focus, or Panini has to focus on who makes up the majority of their market and who is actually going to be what the sort of age range of buyers of their product are going to be, and sort of target what they're producing towards that. So I guess, but then of course they've got to take everyone into account, old and new collectors as well. So that's where I presume that they would have weighed up and then sort of made the decision on that. But I still think that the 2012 reprint I think there was a lot of hype, and a lot of like older collectors were excited about it. And I think I'm pretty sure that it comes in a silver variation. I'm not 100% sure if it comes in a green or a coloured version, but I think it is appreciated, because now you can't, again, 2012 Prism, you just can't find. And that's where I think people appreciate, is that older, with this sort of boom in the hobby in recent times, is that finding sealed product, any sort of sealed product from years back, is so tough, and if you do find it, it's going to be expensive. So I mean, there are two sort of sides to it. I mean, but I would probably say I'd agree in the sense that it might not have been appreciated by a lot of buyers at the moment.
Exactly. All right, I think we've covered everything. Yeah, I think that's about it. Where can people find you?
Well, Alexacollects. So Alexa is in Alexa from Amazon. Alexa collects, or one word or one phrase, on Instagram. And I was going to say that you'll find me at Cherry, but I have taken a little bit of time off for uni with placements and just a lot of it's very busy at the moment. But I'm always in the chat. If you're ever watching our live streams on Cherry, I'm always in the chat. I'm always sort of saying hello and trying to interact with people as much as I can. So that's sort of where you can find me. But honestly, just Instagram is my big thing at the moment. So if you'd like get in contact with me, I love receiving messages and talking to people and just getting involved with or sharing stories and cards with other collectors. So just check Instagram would probably my best route.
Absolutely. For myself, you can find me at Chesh Breaks on Twitter, Chesh Breaks on Instagram, also obviously here on YouTube and Twitch, I guess. And also don't forget to check out Guff, yeah, that's great. Jim's gonna kill me. Guff.com.au for all of your gaming needs. We'll be back next week, probably I think Wednesday, and of course we will have Alex back at some point as well, because this has been a lot of fun. We'll have to rope you into doing something hopefully at Oz Comic Con later this year as well.
Hopefully.
Get you on a panel.
Love to.
All right, everyone.
Thanks,
we'll catch you
Chesh.
later. No worries. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.